Hey y'all, and welcome back to this episode where I'll be giving you a recap and my not so humble opinion of Love is Blind Season 4, Episode 8. If you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into why you really clicked on this video. After watching Zach propose to Bliss, I've got goosebumps all over my body. I watched that scene, I think 5 or 6 times. I just kept going back and going back. It was just giving me the feels. I loved it. Okay, of course, Bliss said yes, and it was just a great proposal and a great moment for both of them. And so many things have led to this point with the two of them together. Zach had mentioned it before that he feels that whatever had happened, they really had to meet. They belong in each other's lives, no matter what the capacity may be. So they brought up the fact that Bliss nearly didn't make it to the pods at all because she was really sick. So that's the first thing. She was super sick, so she almost didn't make it to the experiment. Number 2 is Zach dumping her. Number 3 is Zach proposing to Irina. And then number 4 is Zach backtracking and then proposing to her. But all those different things led them to this moment. And there they are, newly engaged, and happily so. Well, next up, Tiffany and Brett are on the balcony. Brett made lunch and serves Tiffany, and as he's serving her, he drops the fork, but the food looks so good. Tiffany's like, it's still good. 5-second rule. I'm still gonna use it because I cannot wait to dig in. Then Brett says, he prefers dark meat, and Tiffany makes a joke that she likes dark meat too. Tiffany, you naughty. Next up, Micah and Paul. They are at a restaurant waiting for Micah's parents to arrive. Her parents arrive, and the first thing I noted is that Micah has her mom's posture. Throughout the season so far, I've just been always looking at Micah whenever she sits down. Her posture is really terrible, and now I've seen where she gets it from. Her mom. Overall, her parents are happy for the two of them, and Micah's dad gave his blessing to Paul as soon as he knew that his name was Paul. Just off the strength of him being Paul, he's like, I trust you with my daughter's life. While Micah's explaining the whole process and the wedding, she just drops an invitation. So, speaking of the wedding, would you guys like to come? I don't know what my parents would do if I invited them to my wedding like that. Next up, y'all, Marshall and Jackie. Jackie is toxic. I'm going to say it again. Jackie is toxic. Jackie told Marshall that he's not man enough because they don't have enough sex. And that he's not aggressive enough. And Marshall said that, well, that's not me. I'm not an aggressive type of guy. So while he's talking, the conversation's heated. So while he's talking, he's clapping. And then Jacqueline says, who you clapping at? And he says, you. I'm clapping at you. And then she says, you better fix it. You better fix it. You better fix it. And Marshall says, why? Is that not being aggressive? Is that not being aggressive? So obviously Jackie feels stupid, so she storms off. She was saying that Marshall needs to switch it up and not act like a grandpa all the time. And Jackie, grow up. Grow up. Marshall tells her that he does a lot, to show his affection and seduce her. He's always touching her, feeling her, all of those things. And he asks her what she does to make him feel wanted. And then Jackie just says, well, if I don't do anything, then why are you with me? So she doesn't answer the question, and clearly the answer is nothing. Because Jackie's the type of girl that thinks just her being there and being pretty is enough, and that everything should come from her man. All the affection, all the support, everything should come from her man, and all she has to do is show up with curly blonde hair. That is not how it works. Well, Jackie wanted to know why she's with him, and boy, Marshall. This is wild. Marshall says, because I see you as a project. She deserves that, but anyway, he backtracks later when they make up and they hug and Jackie cries, of course, because that's part of the whole toxicity, is that she causes a scene and then she breaks down and cries and apologizes at the end. But I believe he truly meant what he said about seeing her as a project. In the booths, he must have gotten a sense of the person that Jacquelina is. I know there's, a good side and a bad side to everybody. Nobody's perfect. But Jacquelina was always doing that, oh yeah, I'm a ride or die, I'm hard, I'm this, I'm that. So he must have gotten an idea of the kind of roughneck love she's looking for, but he still went in because I think he's had relationships with those type of toxic women in the past, and now he wants one that he can change. So he does see her as a project, but in the moment, obviously, he's a good guy, he's a nice guy, he doesn't want to hurt her feelings, so he takes it back. Okay, so Tiffany and Bougie Brett are outside, and Tiffany lists all the things that they still have to do before the wedding, which is in less than 2 weeks. She's saying, what are we going to do about the cake? I got to find a dress. We need to think about getting everyone into the city. It's taking a toll on me. And the whole time, Brett is sipping on whatever is inside his Love is Blind wine glass. We all know that cup that they all use to drink whatever potion they're drinking on Love is Blind. Brett says he sees the future so clearly with her, so he's not stressed about anything because he knows that whatever they do is gonna work out. If my man said that to me, that's like a weight just lifted off of your shoulders, But I don't think we women would think that way about our wedding day. You want it to be so perfect. It's not easy to just relax and let it be. So it also turns out that Tiffany's grandparents married after 6 weeks of knowing each other, and they were married for over 60 years. So this is a good omen for these two. It's 11 days until the weddings, and Zach and Bliss are moving in to the shared apartment. They're walking up to the apartment, and Zach insists on carrying both of their suitcases, and he looked like his legs were gonna buckle under the pressure. And then also he's wearing a suit on moving day. He's wearing a suit on moving day. Okay, they get into the apartment, settle in, sit down for a meal. I don't know whether it's lunch or dinner. And the topic of Zach's previous, very recent engagement comes up. Obviously, it's understandable that Bliss is still not over things, and she's second guessing Zach's feelings, intentions, and all of those things towards her. I would feel exactly the same. She says, it's got a lot to do with pride as well, knowing that she was his second choice and then giving him a chance. It's a big blow to her ego. And Zach says, well, it's obvious that you're not my second choice. Zach, it's not obvious. It's not obvious that she's not your second choice. You chose someone else first, And only when that didn't work out did you choose her. By definition, she is your second choice. There's nothing that you can say that takes that away. You chose her second. Yes, you did realize that Irina isn't for you and all of those things, but she's still second. Bliss is still second. You keep going on about in the pods you had a strong, very strong connection with her and you knew it was her, but. No, you just, at some point you have to accept that so that you guys can move on. These things do happen. People get into relationships, you realize it's not for them, and move on. But the more you keep denying it, the more it's kind of icky. Kwame and Chelsea are at the dog groomers giving Rocky a bath, and after they do all of that, it brings up, responsibilities. Chelsea asks if Kwame's ever given a dog a bath. He says no. She asks if you've given a baby a bath. He says yes. So that leads into the conversation about having kids. And Chelsea says that she wants to have 6 kids. And Kwame says for him, he envisioned his life being about him and his partner, traveling the world, doing things together. He didn't really picture kids in the mix. So while Chelsea is trying to make him see that they can still do all of these things with kids, for example, traveling with the kids while they're still small, or hiring a nanny to travel with them, Kwame is just not having it. He's just like, it doesn't sound like what he wants for himself. I don't understand why such an important topic is coming up now. Didn't they talk about whether or not they want kids when they were in the pods? You guys are engaged and you don't even know if both of you want kids or not. I think they agreed to 3 years because Chelsea mentioned that he had said 3 years before, but it sounds like he's even thinking that 3 years is too soon. Kwame, how old do you want to be before you have kids? You want to be 60 before you have your first child? Chelsea asks him if he even really wants to settle down because it doesn't sound like he wants to. She points out that marriage is about compromising, and Kwame says, yeah, I've been doing most of the compromising. This conversation did not go well at all. I don't know if it's going to work out between Chelsea and Kwame. If I have to make a prediction, I think Chelsea will say yes and Kwame will say no. I think after everything, even the differences between them, I think Chelsea really wants to be married, so she will say yes. So the next scene, I told you guys about Micah. I told you guys about who Micah really is. And this is who she is. So Micah takes Paul to her best friend's birthday party so that he can meet all of her friends. Her friends are terrible, especially Shelby. Her other friend, whose name I forgot, isn't actually that bad. But Shelby, her best friend, is a horrible human being. And that's Chelsea's best friend. So they're sitting, having a chat, and immediately Shelby is just off towards Paul. I don't even really know what Paul said to set her off, but her whole mood changed. And she was like, don't talk to me like that. If you talk to me like that, blah, blah, blah. And then Micah says, yeah, she gets upset really quickly. And then Paul says, I don't care how she feels. And Micah's like, what? You don't care how you should. He's like, I care how you feel. I don't care how she feels. And then Micah says, oh, that's the worst attitude to have. You should care about how she feels. This is someone who's meeting your fiance for the first time, brings up that she's ended relationships with your past boyfriends on your behalf because she didn't like them. What is going on? What kind of friendship is this? If you ask me, Shelby wants to clap them cheeks. Shelby wants Micah to herself. She doesn't want anyone else getting in between them. So Paul steps away, as I would as well. I wouldn't want to hang out with them. I mean, I'm not here to prove myself to your friend who clearly has a totally different agenda. So Paul steps aside, and then Shelby's like, are you in love? And Micah's like, yes, I really love him. And she's like, ew. I hate hearing that. That's disgusting. That doesn't sound like you. I've never heard you talk like that. Ew, ew. Girl, what is wrong with you? If you're in love with her, just say that. If you want her to yourself, just say that. So at some point, Micah's other friend says that Shelby is a hater, because she really is. She really, really, really is a hater. She just keeps telling Micah that she's not with it at all. And Micah's like, wait, what? You're not into him at all? You don't like him at all? She's like, yeah, he's a nice guy and everything, but he's not good enough for you. You're Micah. Look how beautiful you are. You deserve the best. And she starts getting teary-eyed. And I don't know why Micah doesn't see how inappropriate Shelby is, or how inappropriate her friendship with Shelby is. The friendship dynamic is just completely off. Shelby either wants to control Micah because she's jealous, or she wants to sleep with Micah. But the whole interaction, this whole scene, has me thinking, who is Micah? I'm still trying to weigh out who the real Micah is. I said it before that I think her distancing herself from Irina is purely because Irina said that she's attracted to Paul. It has nothing to do with how Irina treats other people or the person that Irina is. It was just her protecting herself. And now we meet her friends. And yeah, Micah, who are you? If these are your friends, girl, if this is your best friend, then you keep blaming other people for your actions, and you act like you just go along with everything. But no, you're too old for that. It's the Love is Blind meetup, and it's also Chelsea's birthday, so we get 2 events in one. And lo and behold, Josh shows up. Josh is, just think of the worst human being you've ever met in your life. The where's my hug kind of guy who doesn't understand personal space, intimate space. He's just there being loud, obnoxious. He wants everyone to look at him, see him, notice him. He's there. Bliss is also there, and it's her first time, obviously, meeting everyone. And Marshall shows up without Jacquelina. Brett and Marshall talk. I love the bond and friendship that they've built throughout this experiment. You can see how genuinely these men care for each other. So Marshall is explaining the whole fight that he had with Jacquelina and how she wants him to be more aggressive in bed, someone to slap her around and all that kind of stuff. And Brett was like, okay, she's about the drama. She wants a relationship full of drama. So Marshall says, yeah, he knows that she's looking for that toxic kind of love because he's been in those situations before. Brett says that Marshall's a good guy and basically he shouldn't change who he is. And if Jacquelina isn't ready for that kind of love, the kind of man that Marshall is, then bye. Goodbye. Micah and Kwame have a chat, and I don't even want to talk about it because it's stupid and it's repetitive. It's the same stuff. I don't know if they're baiting us to think that there's something between them when there really isn't. But it's the same questions. Are you happy? Did you make the, oh, I think about you, I still want you to be happy, I genuinely, yeah. Moving on. Marshall and Josh have the most awkward interaction. Marshall's minding his business. Josh walks up to him, hands all over him, hugging him, dabbing him up, all that stupid shit. And talking about, yo, it's Mr. Steal Your Girl. And Marshall says, if you can steal her, you of all people, then you can have her. And I know that's right, Marshall. I know that's right. Have her. Josh pulls Jacqueline aside and he's doing his same old routine, trying to be cool, flirting. And he says that he was real with Jackie throughout the whole experiment in the pods, and he felt Jackie was real with him. So he was surprised to see Jackie end up with Marshall. He says Marshall was crying about everybody. And I feel bad to laugh about this, but it's kind of funny. He called Marshall NBA Cryboy. Not NBA Cryboy. Oh my goodness. Josh says he really cares about Jacqueline and it's hard to see her with someone else, blah, blah, blah. He says he feels he put someone else's feelings ahead of his. So whenever he knew that Marshall felt really strongly about Jacqueline, that he backed off or something. I don't know what he's really talking about. And he asks Jacqueline if she plans to actually marry Marshall. Josh has seen, understands, and knows the real Jacqueline. So the whole setup is confusing to him. He's looking at Jacqueline, he's looking at Marshall, and he's like, this does not make sense. He sees what I see. Josh and I see the same thing. We see you, Jacqueline. And Josh is ready to give Jacqueline that toxic love that she's